Hello everyone and welcome back to FTB Skies 2. Last time we got our fusion reactor set up and we have way more power than we're ever going to need. So I thought, why not do something that doesn't use power at all? Because that's useful. But in all seriousness, what we're tackling today at the start is the Omega upgrade. Now, we're not going to be able to get one of these today, but I want to get on the path to making one as we're going to need a lot of Draconic Dust. I've already gone ahead and added the recipe into our system, so it knows how to craft it, and we only need 4 of them, so it should be pretty easy to get. However, the thing we need today is this Draconic Dust. I've set up honey essence in our planters over on the other side of the base. The wax will come from the bees. In the Heart of Seas, we're going to get it in a fun way, because I said I hadn't used one of these before, so we're going to use the anti-protonic nuclear synthesizer to turn nether stars into Heart of Seas with 5 millibuckets of antimatter, which is really cool. So we're going to make one of these eventually, and I've already gone ahead and started collecting the antimatter in this chemical tank. We already have 22 buckets worth, and this guy is doing 30 million FU tick, by the way, which is even putting a dent in our power. We're using a fifth of it. We're using it at max about a fifth of our power. So I'm not too worried. I did have to expand this, by the way. We already ran out of power storage, and I didn't want my fusion reactor to not. I could have avoided it, but it was easier to do it that way. Nevertheless, we have to get a Draconic Dust, and that is our only dive into bees. Luckily, we're not going to have to do anything else. However, I will note we're going to be using the FTB shop again, and that is to buy this honey treat right here. I don't have any use for coins. What we did is we bought some mythical essence wherever the essence pack is, and I don't think we're ever going to use essence again. Now, you could buy the Omega upgrades directly in here, by the way, for the exact same amount, but that does require you to make a single Omega upgrade yourself. So what I find easier is buying the honey treat. And the only reason I want to do this is because both weather tolerance and behavior. Productivity mega high comes from kamikaze bees, and we have 3 kamikaze bee spawn eggs, and we can also make the bee nest helmet with the inferium helmet. So we could do this, and we could use the kamikaze bee spawn egg. That's not an issue. My issue is the fact that Metaternal and weather tolerance any are very variable, and they don't always work. I've messed around with productive bees quite often, and yes, sure, in older versions. However, I've had bees sit out in the rain through thunderstorm, through daytime, through nighttime for days. 7, 15, 20 Minecraft days. And they just never get the traits they needed. I feed them honey treats, and I don't want to babysit my bees. So what we're going to do is we're going to make one single juiced up bee. We only do have enough to get the 2 tokens. Now, we could scavenge for another 100 coins. But what we'll do is we'll set up a very quick and easy auto breeder with bees and AE2. And then we'll just breed this guy until he springs off enough offspring to make a few perfect bees, and then we'll slap those inside of an advanced beehive and then farm some draconic bees. But to get those draconic bees, we're going to need some obsidian nests. And these guys, all you have to do is place them in the end, and they will spawn some bees. Now, to feed these, you actually need dragon's breath. So I've gone ahead and made a decent amount of dragon's breath with our end dragon model we farmed way back. This is the elevator down. So we're farming dragon's breath right there. And we're also farming nether stars as well, and then the coal for the wither skeletons. And then our skulk reserve that we're never going to touch. So let's head over to the end and get these guys set up. Oh, there's a few wandering traders in the end. Goodbye. Alright, Enderman be gone. So we'll slap down our nests, and the more dragon's breath you give these guys, the faster they will spawn. You know what I didn't do? I didn't bring bee nests with me. Or not nests, but cages. There we go. Much better. Oh, and by the way, the ender dragon isn't here. It says the Ender Dragon's bars there, but I did put him in a containment jar as a joke. So all we do is put a stack of bottles in each one of these, and they will spawn bees. Hopefully not aggressive ones. Ta-da! Wow, these were all aggressive, by the way. Also, productivity high is not bad. To be honest, productivity high isn't that bad. We could get away with it, but we'd still have to get Metaternal and stuff like of the sort. Oh, the Ender Dragon is here. Come here, buddy. Let's test out our new sword. Oh. That did half his health. Bonk. Well, that was pretty easy. Got anything good for me? Nope. Just some XP. Alright, back home we go. Oh, that's funny. It puts us in the overworld when we kill the dragon. I wasn't expecting that. I guess I never got to show this off. So while we're here, I assume if you've played FTB Skies, you've seen this. Let me crank up the render distance to show this off in its beautiful glory. But yeah, this place is fantastic. I guess I never got to fly around in it when I first spawned in. But look at this scale of this, man. It's beautiful. Whoever built this, hats off to you. Great job. Just absolutely fantastic. Yeah, I guess we'll just go back to our house. Now, with our newly acquired friends, all we have to do is some very basic beekeeping. Nothing too complicated. So if we make ourselves a bottler, a centrifuge, turn that into a powered centrifuge, and we can't make this because it requires an inactive dragon egg, so we'll leave the heated centrifuge for now. Plus, we don't want that. We want to be able to get wax. So it's actually a good thing. We don't actually need the catcher. I'm not sure why I made that one. Get the baby incubator. This one's important. We need a gene indexer, as well as a breeding chamber. This one's very important. Now, in all honesty, for us, there's not much we have to do, except to unlock this quest right here. The dependency is bee genes, which technically we've just done. Where's bee genes? I just saw it. Aha, right here. So it wants us to make an advanced beehive in a feeding slab. That's pretty easy. Now, it depends on what kind of bee slab we want. I like canvas. I've always liked canvas, and the acacia style has always been my favorite. So if we just head over to where we have our plants, we're going to use this area. That area down there is going to be saved for enchantment, because we're going to need a lot of space for a lot of plants, and I'll get into that once we get there. Also, I don't know why we lost all of our health. I'm going to hit myself with a slash heal, so I stopped eating 24/7 to replenish that, just because it's slightly annoying. But yeah, we lost all of our health when we came back from the end for some reason, but I think it's fine. Nevertheless, beehives are very simple. You just place a beehive down and place an expansion box on top. Without the expansion box, the advanced beehive has no room for upgrades and only holds 3 bees. With the expansion box, you get upgrade slots and 2 more bee slots. So we could, very simply, throw these bees in here. Well, we could place these bees on the ground and they would naturally find this as their home. However, that is the worst way to do bees. Now, if you're starting out in a world and you want to start with bees for some reason, you would do it like a natural Minecraft bee and you would have your location available to it. However, why ever do that when you're playing modded when you can simply make simulation upgrades? We're going to make 1 simulation upgrade and we're going to make 3 speed upgrades. We never made a recipe for speed upgrades. So like I said, we're going to make 3 speed upgrades. And this is like your best way to do it early on. Now you could make a block upgrade for this guy as well. However, we're just going to do it this way for now. And we can actually just throw our bees directly in here and they will technically start working. Now, they won't exactly because we actually need a feeding slab. And this is just very simple to make. And also, many quests completed. When you're placing out your feeding slab, always make sure it is this block right here. The block below them like that. And then draconic bees, if we look them up, if you right click on JEI, you can see that they have to flower a dragon egg. Lucky for us, we don't have any. Not so lucky actually, but lucky for us, if we just sit here, there's no protection matrix, isn't there? Never mind. Beat that guy up a bit. Aha, we'll get ourselves a dragon egg from this, like so. And then we'll switch that back to dragon essence. And we can simply come over here, right click the feeding slab, and slap our dragon egg in it. Now, if we chuck a stack of bottles in there, it will automatically start making draconic combs, honey bottles, and honey for us. And if we come over here with a little cheeky canvas, we can actually speed this guy up, mute bees, and we can process a lot of honeycombs this way. And realistically, we could do this infinitely and just keep speeding this guy up and then never actually have to worry about our bees. But it's just not a good method. And also I want to showcase the fact that perfect bees are just arguably better. Now, I'm not going to sit here and breed perfect bees, but like I said, kamikaze bees will give you very productive or high productivity, sorry. And then putting them on a lead and having them sit out through thunderstorm, through rain, through night and day, everything like that, just attached to a lead out in the open like this. Make sure you feed them honey treats so they don't die. That will get you those 2 genes. Now, getting genes like endurance, strong, and temper, they do not matter because once again, you should never, never, never not have your bees simulated. Simulator upgrade is the bare minimum for this. And genuinely, yeah, if you're going to say I don't have any honey to start, get your honey from the nether structure like I've shown. Never, never, never. Don't do bees out in the wild. They can die sometimes. You might have to feed them. It's just chaos. It is so much easier just to slap down a simulator upgrade and have them work their magic inside the thing and never have to touch them. But what I do want to get into is getting these bees souped up and ready. Now, all you really need for this is a piston, a dispenser, and some glass, as well as the few things I will show here from the Productive Bees mod. But very simply, all we're going to be doing is breeding 2 bees together, and then with those 2 bees, what we're going to be doing is throwing the offspring into an incubator. So something very simple like this, where we place the bee down, throw them into an incubator, and then take the product from that incubator and throw it into a dispenser, like so. And dispensers will automatically, well, dispense the bees. And we want to dispense the bees atop of a bottler. Now, this is because we want to squeeze out their genomes. And to do that, you have to slap down a bottler. Now make sure your bottler always has bottles in them, otherwise it won't work. And then once they're squished, we're going to absorb their genes into a powered centrifuge, mix them up, and then spit out their remains. Their remains will go into a gene indexer, which will combine them into 100% genes, which we can combine to honey treats to feed them. And that is all this is here. In the FTB shop, this queen bee trait is what we're aiming to make. And like I said previously, the endurance and temper do not matter when simulating. However, productivity very high is important, well, actually necessary. Weather tolerance any means it will work during thunderstorm, rain, and sun. And then behavior meternal means it will work both day and night. You can have diurnal, which will work simply during the day, and nocturnal, which will work at night. So this is all you need. Now, what I do like to do is cover this guy up in glass, just so I can watch the bees get crushed. There's no other reason to it. You don't actually need to see them. One other thing you should do, well, one thing you also need to do, sorry, is slap a piston down vertically like that, and then slap a redstone block on top of it. Very, very simple. This dispenser here just needs to be set on a clock. You can set it to like, I don't know, I usually do about 80 ticks, just so it's not pulsing 24/7, and then I just mute the dispenser because it's annoying. But yeah, that is all you need. Now we're going to be setting this up with AE2 in a second here. However, something like this with some pipe upgrades, and then also one pipe upgrade here, like so, will be your entire setup. Once again, I lied. We're going to use an advanced item collector. And we could use the Dire Things ones. I just have one of these, so may as well use it. And we're just going to set the radius to just be this zone here that you can see. And we're going to whitelist this to genes once we get them. And then the genes will go into this. Now, the way we set this up with AE2 is simply an export bus to import both bee cages, flowers, and then this guy will get exported, the baby, into the baby incubator. This will have honey treats be exported into it. And then that's it. This guy needs power, and so do these two, and then you're good. So if we come back to the end and grab ourselves 2 more draconic bees, nice. And we'll make both of these our queen bees, or one of them for that matter. So if we just pick up our gene indexer, the quest should complete, potentially. Oh, there we go. And all you have to do for the gene indexer, by the way, is just make sure it has a lever to state that it's on, or a redstone block on top, of course. And yeah, that is all you need. So if we just go over here to the shop, we can buy ourselves one amazing honey treat. And as long as we place this down, feed him the honey treat, you will see that everything is now on it. And this guy for breeding requires 2 draconic dust. And luckily, we already have 529 draconic comb. So we're going to take that out. And if we just set this guy to export centrifuge combs into here, or draconic comb, sorry, give it some power. That's not power. Like so, it will start. Why aren't you accepting power? Excuse me, good sir. This is some good power right here. That's confusing. Oh, you know what? I was on the wrong power source. It's like, why aren't you accepting power? Okay, so this will start producing wax, draconic dust, as well as honey. The honey will go into our fluid cells. The wax will go well into our system, same with the draconic dust. Now, what we want to do is set this guy to export bee cages as well as draconic dust, as that is the breeding ingredient for bees. And we'll throw all of our draconic comb in there. And then as that exports, we'll just split it up for now. We can slap both these bees in here, and as you see, it uses the draconic dust to start breeding them. Now, we will do this in fast time, just so I can show it off, and then this will passively work in the background until we're done, and these guys will constantly make us some comb. So we'll speed them up to 8 times. It'll prop the baby bee in here into a cage. We'll see it in a second, or it should, if we give it the right power source. The baby bee will go in here. Why did I do these all incorrectly? There we go. Yes, so the baby bee will be bred. It will go in here. We'll speed that up as well, just so it matches it. It'll get incubated, thrown out into the squisher, and squished. Now the DNA will go into here. As you see, the DNA pops in. I'm going to turn this off on whitelist, just so we can see it. Alright, this guy will grow up in just a second here. And we'll sit here and collect the squashed bee material. Now, like I said, this needs to be centrifuged, so we'll slip it in the whitelist. It'll get centrifuged, and then the DNA will get indexed in here. So what we're looking for is the productivity very high, and we're looking for meternal, weather tolerance any, as well as meternal. Now, because these are 2 different bees, remember we have 1 good bee and 1 okay bee. So this is your okay bee, we have 1 really good bee. They will take a while to intertwine and breed those genes until we get some more perfect ones. And then once they're perfect, all you have to do is combine the 100% genes with a honey treat, and you will get one of these honey treats. So that's what we'll do once this guy's full up, except that will take a very long time. So these guys will passively work in the background until that point. But the whole point is to get enough draconic chunks to make 4 omega upgrades, which is 5,000. So once we get 5 perfect bees, we will turn this breeder off so we don't waste any draconic chunks, and then this will passively work in the background until we're done. But that's on the back foot now, and we can continue with other things today. So what I want to get started with is our brand new room here, and this will be for the Enchanted mod. Now, we've already got a few things from Enchanted, just from around the world. I'm going to grab my Emperor's Chalice out, as well as my dirt and hoe. We got a Witch's Oven and some fume funnels from Pride Island, which is this island right here, the pillager one. However, both of these are very simple to craft. It is just some iron, lava, and glowstone. Very, very simple. So what we're going to do is we're going to slap our Witch's Oven down here and attach 3 fume funnels to it. As you see, they connect on both sides, as well as the top turns into a little smokestack. Now, the Witch's Oven is what you need to start making different brews, such as the Breath of Goddess, the Horned One's Exhale, Foul Fume, Hint of Rebirth, etc. Right? So all of these brews are going to come out of our Witch's Oven here. The more fume funnels you add atop of it or beside it like this, will higher your chance of getting, say, said Breath of Goddess or Horned One's Exhale when you put a clay jar with whatever you're smelting. So for example, this. Without this, I don't know the exact numbers, but it would be a lot lower than what we will be able to get with it. Now this we're going to be needing for our altar. And if you remember, the altar is what is required. Oh, it's actually not a dependency. That's kind of funny, but I guess it doesn't really matter. But for the FTB Pyramid, our goal is the Omega Dragon Egg. And that is why we did the Omega upgrades. We already have the Dragon Egg. Kraken Shell we'll be able to easily get. Dragon's Breath we already have. We need Whiff of Magic on a 4,000 power altar. So that's going to be our goal today. We're going to get this Omega Dragon Egg at the very end of this episode. So Parascule Flame is very easy. It's just some spirits around some ether in our spirit altar. We've done Malum already. And then, well, Kraken Shell is just some Kraken Shell fragments around a Nebulous Heart, which is Squid Beaks around a Slime Pearl. Very, very simple. Nothing complicated here except, I guess, doing Enchanted to the point where we can get this. So to get started outside of our fume, we're going to need a few different kinds of saplings. So that is from oak, birch, and acacia. Now to do these, we're going to actually need to mutate them. And how you mutate them? Well, it's with Mutandis. This requires some mandrake root, some Horned One's Exhale, as well as an egg. And it is specifically in this order you need to throw it into your Witch's Cauldron, which we will make next. So a Witch's Cauldron, very simply, is you right-click a cauldron using Anointing Paste. Now, we're lucky we already have a Witch's Cauldron. However, I will show this off because it's kind of fun. Anointing Paste is using all 4 seeds from Enchanted, and all you do is slap some grass down, and as long as you're breaking tall grass, you have a chance to get these seeds. So we used the snowball seeds way back in episode 1 to get snowballs to feed our ghast, but we also got all of these seeds alongside it, and I've just never thrown them out since, so we're lucky that we have them. Nevertheless, we can make some anointing paste, and if we, for example, slap a campfire down, let's say right here, we can turn this into a Witch's Cauldron. And if you just come over and right click it with a water bucket, you will fill it. To get mandrake root, well, very simply, you plant some mandrake. Means you're going to want a few seeds of mandrake, and we'll slap them down. Now, we can grow these normally with a hoe, no problem. Oh, I already had one in my inventory. But we can grow these with a hoe, not an issue. However, I will warn your ears. These guys are very loud, so get ready. Very, very loud. But that will provide us mandrake root when we kill them. There we go. They are very, very annoying. However, we did get some wicked spirits from them, because they are pretty wicked. Now we need Horned One's Exhale, which means we're going to need some clay jars and some oak saplings. And I've gone ahead and added that to our recipe list, so it's very easy to get. So all we simply do is throw some oak saplings in here. We're just going to throw about 8, that's fine. And then we'll give it some fuel. And then this guy will work. Once again, we can just speed him up a bit. And we got our Horned One's Exhale. Perfect. So Mutandis, Mandrake, Horned One's Egg. So Mandrake, Horned One's Egg. And as you see, it will slowly have a little particle effect. And it will slowly smoke, have a little particle effect to dance on top. And once the particles stop spewing out the top, you simply come over with a bucket and right click. Now we have some Mutandis. Now you do have to make sure you right click all 6 times to get all 6 Mutandis out, which will empty the bucket. If you leave any fluid in there, it will mix with your next recipe and your next recipes simply won't work. Now what we want to do is we want to make some trees. So we're going to slap down some dirt. No, I'm going to spread these out one more like that. And we're going to slap down one of each. So an acacia, we're going to right click with Mutandis, and we're going to leave it. We're going to place down a birch, right click with Mutandis, as well as an oak, and right clicking with Mutandis. We are not going to bone meal or use the hoe shifting technique to grow these. It will completely mess them up. They need to sit naturally with the Mutandis and mutate themselves. So do not, no matter how impatient you are, do not use a hoe to shift them or use bone meal to grow them. They will not grow. So while those grow, we can actually continue on with some more things. In our case, the goal is the altar. So we're also going to need Breath of Goddess, as well as the Rowan logs. And the Rowan logs will come from mutating these trees here. So to make Breath of Goddess, it is simply a birch sapling in our oven here. So we'll throw 4 saplings in, and we should be able to get some real fast, like so. And there's our Breath of Goddess. We need 2 more horned ones exhale for the altar specifically. Now we can actually better the chance of getting fun little whiffs and jars filled by attuning our witch's oven. Now how you would go about that is by making attuned stones. Unfortunately, you can't do this without Rowan saplings and making whiff of magic. However, they're really useful. Another use for it is to make the chalice, which we're going to want for our altar once we get to it. And speaking of altar, I guess it's time to start growing the altar base. So our altar, unfortunately, it is 6x2, so it's not going to fit perfectly center in this room, but we're going to use these 6 blocks here. And within a 15 block radius of it on each side, it is going to check for unique amounts of plants. So basically, all you want to do to get your altar power up, aside from adding things on top of it like a chalice, a wither skeleton skull, as well as a candelabra at max level, as well as a dragon egg actually, you're going to want to grow plants around it. Now, technically we have moss in the ground. I'm not sure if this counts as a block. It would be funny if it did. However, things like melons, pumpkins, and I'm not going to use the shift growing technique around these guys, just so we don't accidentally grow with the other ones beside them, and we'll just grow these guys up. So already, without our altar, we already have a decent amount of power. And these guys grew without mutating. So very simply, break them down and try again. So we're going to try for a mutation again. Unfortunately, none of them took, which is fine. It is expected. So we'll probably just have to make some more Mutandis later, but we'll let those guys go. Now, when it comes to planting some other things, we're going to want to plant all of the specific seeds from this mod. So what we're going to do is just make an area right here, and I'm going to turn this one into a slab like so, and that way we can hide the water. So mandrake, wolfsbane, belladonna, that's not the right thing. We'll place some garlic as well as some belladonna seeds down, and then as those grow, they will also provide more stuff to our altar. And unfortunately, none of our trees mutated. So this will just be a little fun game of placing down Mutandis on top of saplings and hoping they mutate. The one thing I do actually recommend doing is replacing your campfire with the magma block. It will stop these smoke particles from appearing on top, and it's just kind of easier to see your potions being brewed. I will say, watching the cherry blossom particles like fall down on the moonlight from shaders, visually stunning. Like, I love shaders. That's the reason I play with them in every pack I do play, as well, if I can, that is, and it just looks fantastic. Just these little leaves falling with the moonlight just slowly raising above, staring at these plants off into the nothingness. Nice scenic fun, to say the least. But we'll be back once these guys actually grow. So I found out a faster way to actually speed up your Mutandis mutating is by simply placing down your saplings surrounded by, say, mandrake, belladonna, wolfsbane, water artichokes, and then these guys will have a higher chance of mutating when surrounded by, well, the enchanted flowers. So we did water artichoke in the middle, and then surrounded them with both mandrake and belladonna and such on all sides. And now it's simply a waiting game for these to happen. That, unfortunately, is an oak log, not very useful to us. Once again, another oak log. This does take some time, but it's usually pretty fast. Well, it's faster this way, to say the least. So while we've been waiting, I went ahead and expanded our bee setup just a teensy bit by adding 3 more hives. And thankfully, as soon as we got one of each perfect gene, so strong, passive, very high, any, and metaternal from our gene indexer here, I just combined them into a breeding chamber with 2 perfect bees, and then any offspring that came out of that were, well, perfect bees. So I was able to collect them directly from the dispenser here without them going in. So I just clicked pause while redstone signal was activated and put the redstone block directly over top of it. And we were able to keep all of our bees simply like so, and we went ahead and added them all into canvases or advanced canvas beehives like this with simulator and 3 speed upgrades. Now, the one other thing I did is I changed them into draconic comb blocks. This is so it processes faster in a heated centrifuge. And I just have a crafting card to craft these. It is just by combining 4 blocks at a time. This is just so it processes slightly faster. And the heated centrifuge is just using the powered centrifuge, 2 speed upgrades, as well as an inactive dragon egg, which is just draconic chunks. So it used up a decent amount of our draconic dusts, to say the least, but it was well worth it because this guy, well, it processes stuff a lot faster, and we'll be getting the Omega upgrades very soon. So if we go to and click 4 of these, we're only missing 3,800 draconic dust, which is about 2,000 draconic comb blocks. So while we get the rest of Enchanted done, these guys should catch up in no time. Now, speaking of Enchanted, our goal, once again, is the Omega Dragon Egg. So that is all of these ingredients. This Kraken Shell here is just Kraken Shell fragments and a Nebulous Heart. What I did is I went over to our friend the Water Orb, which we went to a few episodes back, just over here, this guy. I collected a squid spawn egg, and I spawned some squids. And that's already too many, and just came over here and killed them, and got a lot of squid beaks. The slime pearls were from our farm, same with nebulous hearts, but that was an easy way to get those guys. Oh, we had an owl spawn! Look at that, we had an owl spawn. That's fun. Can I tame him somehow? You take fish? How do I tame you? I want him. Okay, let's see if any of these mutated. Nope, no mutations. I promise this does work though. No, he left again. No, where'd you go, Mr. Owl? Oh, there you are. Okay. Oh, look at that. We got our first enchanted sapling. It is the Hawthorn sapling. That is very awesome. Like I said, this is much faster apparently, and doing 4 at once compared to just 1 at a time will obviously help. And look at that, we already have our next one, the Rowan sapling. It's clearly a lot faster doing it this way. I think it still works having them just planted by themselves, but yes, this is the ideal setup as far as I can tell. And now we're simply missing one. However, to make the altar itself, we just need Rowan logs. So, oh, another one enchanted. Ooh, another Hawthorn, unfortunate. But yes, like I said, all we are going to need is the Rowan sapling for now, and we'll use some bone meal and start collecting some. Oh, and I heard our last sapling turn. Which one was it? Oh, we got the alder. Nice. Okay, so that's all the saplings we need. We're gonna go ahead and break those, and we'll collect that for later. Now, like I said, all we do need for right now are the Rowan logs. So what we're going to do is use these guys to make an altar. So we need the Breath of the Goddess and the Horned X1's Hail. Didn't say that correctly. And we'll get ourselves 6 altar blocks. And once you place your last one down, you will get the form. So it is 2 by 3, just like this. Now, to expand on our altar, we're going to want to give it power. Because right now, as you see, with all these plants around it, we have 1,300 power. However, we're going to need 4,000 for the recipe for this kettle here. See, required altar power 4,000. So I'm going to go ahead and place down our cauldron, as well as a wither skeleton skull. This will bring it up to 3,900 already. Just a wither skeleton skull like that has already brought us up this high. Another thing we can add is the chalice. The chalice does require an attuned stone. This guy requires whiff of magic, diamond, and lava bucket. And to make the whiff of magic, we just need a Rowan sapling inside our witch's oven here. So if I just speed this guy up a quick bit, we can actually get some whiff of magic. And with this guy, we can make ourselves an attuned stone, which we can turn into a chalice. Now, normally you want to fill your chalice with redstone soup. However, for redstone soup, you need the drop of luck, which requires an altar power of 7,000. Now, we could do this. However, we don't have an altar power of 7,000 without placing a regular chalice atop of it. And as you see, this brought us up to 5,200. We only need 4,000. Now, to upgrade this even more, we could place more melons, more saplings. That's a failed dragon egg that I misclicked on top of it. Don't ignore that. And we could also plant one of each of these saplings as well, like so. And look at that, we're already up to 5,700. Now, like I said, you could get to 7,000 by just multiplying how many plants you place down. So if I place down some more melons, some more blood poppies, for example, some more of these logs, all these different kinds of trees, multiple garlics, multiple belladonnas, etc., right? However, we don't need all that. All we need are these things here. Now, the next thing we need is a paracausal flame. This is just ether, crying obsidian, hexash, and then 2 of the spirits. And luckily we have 10 hexash, so that actually works out pretty well. And we'll grab one of our ethers, And I already did set this guy up for this specifically, so we'll place these guys down. And we haven't actually had to do this thing in a while, so we'll let this guy go, and we'll be done in a second. And we're only 3,700 off our Draconic Dusts, which is actually quite a lot. So I'm just going to speed these guys up. Now, I will say, I'm almost positive the mod author has specifically disallowed the ability to Soul Surge beehives. I'm almost positive. I could be incorrect about this, but I'm pretty sure that is the case. But I'm still going to try nevertheless, because it is it's very efficient to do this. So we're going to try. So if I grab myself an interface and slap it directly on, will these start producing faster? I'm almost positive they won't. It doesn't look like it. Now, obviously, they're not going to be extremely fast without Omega upgrades in them to begin with. That was pretty fast. Okay, that looked very fast, but maybe not. I don't know. I'm going to leave it, but I'm almost positive the mod author has disallowed the use of Soul Surges specifically on his mod, which is fine. Some people don't like the fact that you can cheese them, except the fact that I can still use a temporal pouch like this and speed them up manually. And I have 192 hours on this thing. Let's not pretend I haven't been AFK on my island for hours on end. That's why we have so many resources in our system. But it is nice to be able to just get that done, hopefully slightly faster than normal. And I don't want my Paracausal Flame to disappear, so I'm going to go ahead and pick that up as well. But yeah, I will be AFK for just a bit. I'm going to go do something else. I will come back, and hopefully we have enough Draconic Chunks for our Omega upgrades. Okay, I've been AFK for quite a while. Hopefully, I have enough. I'm going to click 4. I haven't checked yet. I hope I'm at least within, like, I don't know, maybe 300. I'm just checking. 66. That's not bad. We can actually just go ahead and manually speed these guys up. That's actually really ideal. We're just going to speed these guys up and we'll have this 26 or 66 or whatever the number was in no time. However, we do also have to speed this guy up retroactively as well. Otherwise, it will not process in time. And I'm pretty sure if I check now, we should be good. Awesome. And they're crafted. I blinked. I blinked and they were done. There we go. So we're going to come over to our altar, grab ourselves a water bucket, fill it up, and we got to make sure we're doing this in the correct order. Dragon Egg, Omegas, Paracausal, Kraken, Dragon's Breath, Whiff of Magic. So I'm glad it doesn't accept Omega upgrades, because that is a cauldron, not a kettle. Fun fact, we were using the wrong thing. So if we make ourselves a kettle, not a cauldron, now if we do this correctly, with a new Dragon Egg, unfortunately, place the water in, Dragon Egg, color changed, Omega upgrades, Paracausal Flame, Kraken Shell, Dragon's Breath, and Whiff of Magic. I'm pretty sure that purple is a good sign, but I'm just going to wait here just to make sure that the color changes like well enough, and then we can right click it to get our Omega Dragon Egg out. I'm just going to leave it for just a bit, just in case, because it hasn't changed at the top. The recipe still says everything we've thrown inside of it, so I'm not entirely sure. We're going to give it some time. Aha! Okay, I right clicked it. I took a chance and I right clicked it and we got it. We now have the Omega Dragon Egg. And that means we have one of the first 6 things on the base layer done. And I will say this is the biggest step forward. There is only one more thing we have to complete for the bottom layer here to be completed. And that is for the ethereal essence, we need to make a plutonium pellet. This is the one that requires plutonium dust, which requires our particle collider with fluxite and uranium dust at 2500 joules. So this will be next episode. We will jump into particle collision then. But otherwise, we have everything to make the rest of these elements here, which is absolutely fantastic, and we will have the first layer done. So I do hope you guys enjoyed this episode in our dive into both bee automation, or the minimal amount we did, as well as our jump into the Enchanted mod. Now, I hope you guys understood everything that I showcased. If you have any questions, please leave in the comments below. And yeah, we will jump into the particle collider next episode, as well as getting the first layer of our pyramid completely finished. Now, the rest of the pyramid will take a bit more effort, but I think we're making some solid progress here on completing it. So I do hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, leave a like on the video. It means a lot. If you don't want to miss any future uploads, hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye bye!